My mic is popping, huh? So thanks for having me again today. You're welcome. 22 times love is mentioned in today's passage from 1 John. And some of it, for this version, I even edited out. It's a lot of love. It's a whole lot of love. A number of years ago, I worked with a very experienced pastor for more than a decade who was my mentor. And he said when he came out of Union Theological Seminary in New York, which is a super progressive seminary, you might know, he went and he interviewed for his first senior pastor call. And after one interview with the search team for a church that he really wanted, it was a great, beautiful church in Long Island, the head of the search committee said to me, "Son, you look really good on paper, and we really, really like you. But what is all this love stuff you keep talking about?" This is a true story. That comment was a wake-up call for this brand new pastor, and he did not continue to seek that particular call. And do you know why? Because that so-called love stuff is indeed what we're doing here. We're not making widgets. We're not trying to solve questions of physics. We're not building a massive economic powerhouse, we're not even reinventing religion, which some people think that the UCC does. What we are doing here is spreading the love. Why? Because that's what we need more than anything else. Because the world is so filled with hostility and hate and sorrow and anger. She was so beautiful. She was so beautiful. So beautiful. Sorry? No, it was Dionne Warwick. Dionne Warwick. Yeah. Yeah, she was so beautiful and so wonderful. She's still wonderful. From the Christian Century this week, here's a quote from writer Austin Shelley. This week's 1 John lesson and Psalm 22 echo the book of Acts call to shared ministry while simultaneously lifting up the source of the love that fuels the mission of the church. 1 John 4:19 succinctly proclaims the order of things. We love because God first loved us. How dare we not love? Really? He's a very good thinker, though, Austin Shelley. But there's a whole generation of people who may not resonate with this. The folks I'm thinking about are the faith unaffiliated, those who would like to be part of a community, but don't necessarily adhere to a denomination or a religion. Those folks are deep questioners, and guess what? They're not here. People in this arena have argued that they have plenty of love, but it is not sourced in a belief in God or a way of worship. And as a pastor, I encounter people who get downright defensive about God. Do you? And Jesus in particular. And why? Because Jesus has been co-opted by nefarious resources. And I might add, I went to a racial justice training yesterday by the white Christian nationalist movement. Been co-opted. I'm sorry. I know people don't like to get political, but Jesus has been co-opted. And it's not okay. So let's be honest about that. Can I get an amen? Thank you. This particular phrase, whoever does not love God does not know God, for God is love, may sound kind of like a trap, and it may even sound pretty insulting to some people who don't believe. It sounds as if the writer is looking down their nose at people who don't profess faith, or as not understanding what love is, and they will say, I love plenty, right? And that's true. There you go. I appreciate that. This, in my opinion, is the great schism between people of faith and people of no faith. One cannot really connect the other on the topic of love, what it is and who has got it right. Just as there are different kinds of relationships, there are different kinds of love. Can we show that one? There's philia, which is affectionate love. Philia is love without romantic attraction. It occurs between friends or family members. There's pragma, which is enduring love. This kind of love compels you to drive someone to the hospital, even though you might have just had a fight with them, right, honey? There's storge, which is familial love, perhaps the affection you feel for a longtime colleague who is a kindred spirit. There's eros, which is romantic love, which is the kind of love that we talk about the most, but by no means the best kind of love. But when those sparks fly, baby, it feels like it is. There's ludus, which is playful love. You might think of this when you're hanging out with a little kid, or this is so sweet, the children here are so sweet when I'm hanging out with them, or with your pet dog or cat. There is mania, which is obsessive love. This is one to avoid, because it isn't really love at all, it's compulsion. Think about Sting singing Every Breath You Take. The ultimate stalker song, right? Isn't it though? I mean, I used to love that song, but yeah. There's philatia, which is self-love. A healthy love of oneself is important because we live in such a hypercritical world, visually oriented world, which by the end of the day of Zooms and online meetings can make you feel like, especially with what society has done to women. I'm sorry. We have put women in such a hole of how we're supposed to look, and it really makes me mad. Right? It ain't fair, sister. It's just not fair. Then there's agape, which is selfless love. Of course, the ideal of love is to be willing to lay down one's life for another, and perhaps agape is the kind of love that God has for all of God's creation. So moving on, Psalm 22 invites us to consider both the unending love and dominion of God and our role in receiving and extending that love from one generation to another. That is another thought from Austin Shelley. Thinking about Psalm 22, we hear or read words that are about the overarching presence of God as well as God's enduring love. But doesn't God deserve love in return? How do we show God that we love God? And loving other people, other ways? Wouldn't that be beautiful? What other ways do we show God that we love God? Prayer. Loving the earth. How do we love the earth? Even the unsheltered folks. That's hard. Somebody said to me the other day, you know, I hear from, this is a pastor friend of mine, he said, I hear from people every day, I don't mind giving the unsheltered people money, but I can't look at them in the eyes. It was Rabbi Josh that said this. And he said, you know why? Because then you would have to take them home. When you look somebody in the eye, that is an act of love. But yes, we need especially to teach our kids about creation and how to love our creation, because that is God. Creation is God. And nobody wants to see creation destroyed. I don't think. People might want to make a lot of money, but I don't think anybody really wants to see creation destroyed. So let's you and I continue to meet here. And may I suggest for all these empty spots in the pews that you bring a friend? Can I get an amen? Just bring a friend. Tell them the food is good. And let's continue to offer a time for children in a respectful way. Let's enter, stuttering. Let's entertain the idea of keeping kids in the whole service on a Sunday. Would that be okay by you? Like maybe on Communion Sunday, bring the kids, keep them in, and so they can learn the basics of a progressive theology from sitting right here with us, and then include them fully. And then they will feel loved as well. They will feel like we love them and we want them to be with us. As Jesus said in Matthew 19:14, let the children come to me. Don't stop them, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to those who are like these children. Amen.